Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. This is Yankee and The Brit, and we're going to go division by division, grading each team's drafts. But today, we're going to start with the AFC North, and no better place to start since the draft was in Cleveland.
Yeah, man, definitely. Cleveland put on a great draft as well. It was great to see like some sense of normality. Like I know people were still wearing masks. I know they were all vaccinated, but it looked like people were having a great time. And that was probably one of my favorite things about like watching it all the way through. I was like, oh my God, it feels like we're going back to normal for the first time in ages. And obviously there'll always be a new normal and you've got to have different strains of virus stuck in your arm and that. But you know, it's
we beat COVID.
Good to be getting back. It's good to be getting back, you know.
That's how it feels though. Like we beat COVID, even though I know it's not beat and gone, but like world getting back to a little bit of normalcy after a year plus of everybody not having it. It's exciting. Like I'm even in other sports, I'm a little nervous for fans to go back like to the UFC for them. But for me as a guy watching it at home, man, it makes it to such a better experience. And yeah, I'm just excited to have fans back.
Yeah, and like being in the UK, like we've been in some areas of the US, like it's a lot less strict of a lockdown than we've been experiencing. So it's really nice to see people back in the stadium. And we did have people in the stadium the other day in the UK. Obviously, the Manchester United fans still in the stadium for the Liverpool game, but we'll talk about that another time. We're here to talk about the Browns, the Cleveland Browns, and like what a great position for them to be drafting in from the start. Like they don't really have any needs, so they could just pick the best players every time. And I feel like they did that. I've given them a good grade. Do you want to grade them first up, or do you want to grade them at the end? Like they give out the grade?
Let's grade them as we go, and then talk about them.
Yeah, so I've given them an A+++. I think they were my favorite draft actually, and that's largely down to one guy, which is Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who they managed to pick up in the second round. What a pick. I was very skeptical when they didn't pick him up first time round. And then when they were able to get him in the second, I was like, oh, that's changed everything. That draft is incredible.
I have them having an A+. They are my highest ranked draft team because one, Greg Newsome is a really good corner. I had him rated really high, and that was the one need they had is they needed another corner. Yep. They addressed it with a really good guy in the first round. The second round, Koramoah was a fucking steal. And in the third round, they got a wide receiver who's got like a jetpack up his ass. This kid can fly. Yeah, and I know people are like, he's a little bit of a project. Okay, they have 3 starting receivers sitting there right now. They have 2 number ones.
There are a few teams that can take projects at wide receiver, and those projects just with a rocket shoved up their ass as well. Like, and Cleveland Browns are one of them, and he fits incredibly well. I did really enjoy that pick. I also like the Tommy Togai pick.
Ohio State.
Yeah, the guy was a big, solid guy. He'll be in the rotation eventually, and like kind of he'll kind of fucks up your play kind of guy.
He's got to work on his pass rush a little bit, but he does get pressure. He moves the pocket, and as a run stopper, he's an animal. And the fact that they at some point are going to need to replace Sheldon Richardson, who's gone, with a younger guy, but you got other veterans who can step up right now. Perfect pick. This kid was a monster. His motor never stops.
Yeah, definitely. The right kind of guy to be taken like a bit further down the draft. The other guys I haven't really heard of. I haven't really been able to sit and watch loads of film. Yeah, I've heard good things about him.
I went back and watched more about him, and he's a linebacker, can move side to side, can do a lot of stuff. He's raw, but like, again, this is a team that's so stacked. They already have their core and their, most of their starters, except I think Greg Newsome will come in and start right away. But other than him, you got all the time in the world to use these guys in different packages. And I love Koramoah because he's pretty much the same guy that they have in Isaiah
Simmons in Arizona.
But Simmons hasn't come along as fast as they wanted him to, but he still could. So you put these two guys in that lineup, and you got so much flexibility because both of them can play nickel, both of them can play linebacker, both of them can play safety. I think they did an amazing job, and Kevin Stefanski's taken the NFL by storm.
Yeah, definitely. And a great work straight away. And there's something that PFF say that I think is very applicable to what they did with their first round pick, which I was very skeptical of at first. I was like, take Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, best player on the ball, like best player, fits your team so well. But by taking Greg Newsome, if you have lots of options at cornerback, like that's the way to stop people in the modern NFL. It's Dallas's biggest problem. We don't have enough rotation in the quarterback room. Like you've got to be able to rotate those guys in and out for different plays, and they're starting to kind of load up in the secondary. And Greg Newsome is a solid cornerback. Like he will.
Yeah,
come
I had
in
him
and he
going
will
to the
play
Ravens
well
in the first round.
Yeah, he was definitely a first round pick. You could say people like Tyson Campbell and Asante Samuel might turn out to be a bit better, but Greg Newsome, from just the outside looking at him, you think, yep, solid starter, just what they needed. Gives Greedy a chance to be healthy as well, and he doesn't need to come straight back into the team. So really good work by the Browns. Very exciting team, and one of our darling teams for our second teams, like if you're allowed second teams in the NFL, of course.
I just, you know me, I'm a huge Kevin Stefanski fan. I'm a big Baker Mayfield fan. So
yeah.
I will always be a Vikings fan through and through. But when it comes to the AFC, I'd love to see the Browns do some good things. And it would probably be different if they were in the NFC. I probably wouldn't be as fanboyish on them as I am. But they're not an issue to me unless we play them in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. And I like what the Browns do. I like what they did last season throughout the season. And I think they've just given themselves a good platform to get back to that stage and maybe even win that game against Kansas City if they.
And maybe the term "the Browns are the Browns" will actually turn into a positive instead of a negative.
They're just going to have that written up on every single wall they walk through. Just the Browns are the Browns, absolutely everywhere, and then keep going. Shall we move on to the Baltimore Ravens, who also had a good draft, in my opinion? It was a very Ravens-style draft for me. That's where I'm at. So I gave them a B rating, is where I went with them.
I did a B-. So yeah, but pretty close.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's because, like you said, it's a Ravens draft, but I just personally feel like you left a lot more talented people on the table. Like you could even go with Bateman. Don't hate Bateman. Don't think he's a bad receiver. I just think you reached for him at that point with other guys still on the board.
Yeah, it's like I like the fit. I like the fit of Bateman, and it's not necessarily a reach because they wouldn't have got him in the second round, I don't think. But
no, I meant talent.
There was other more talented guys. Yeah, I agree with you. So Terrence, the reason was he was probably Rashad Bateman's a really good all-round receiver, really well polished, probably one of the most polished of the second-tier receiver guys. But in my opinion, from the film that I've watched, Terrence Marshall Jr. is a better fit for the Baltimore Ravens. And if he wasn't injured, he may have been the pick for them there. And there's other guys as well, like Elijah Moore. And
if you throw it to him while he's covered, he will catch it, right? Bateman will catch it.
Yeah.
My only problem is I don't think he's going to be able to create separation in the NFL like they're going to want him to. But maybe I'm completely wrong on that. And if he can, he's a big body guy, perfect guy, red zone guy. I mean, I just was afraid for them when it comes to you're already crushing Lamar going, he can't throw the ball, get him a number one wide receiver. And the guy's a good wide receiver. But again, I feel like he comes in as the number two and Hollywood's still the number one.
Yeah, of course. And like, but they have done what a lot of people have said they should do. Like, I know you're not necessarily one of the biggest of give him another wide receiver because that's not how their offense is built. But I do believe that another wide receiver would take another guy out of the box to make. Well, I agree with that. My
point and you just made my point.
It doesn't have to be a number one.
Right. That's a great way of explaining it, though. I don't think Bateman's going to take him out of the box either because of his speed. If you really wanted to move a guy, Elijah Moore would have moved the guys or somebody else. But Elijah Moore's a smaller guy, so I get why you didn't want to go that route. I'm just saying you had some good picks. You know, they could have went with guys who would stretch the field more. But like I said, it's all a flavor thing, right? I might be chocolate, you might be vanilla. So I don't hate Bateman. I think he did great in college. I just thought there was better guys. And then when they went down the line with their second, third round pick with Brandon Stevens, cornerback SMU, I just think he's a guy you could have gotten the 5th round, maybe.
Yeah, there's lots of that. There's lots of that going around this, like kind of this time around, though, isn't there? Where, like, because of the problems with evaluation, we don't entirely know how good these people are, and some of these guys would be undrafted free agents in other years, and like because there would be more people in the class coming out. The Cowboys were definitely guilty of that in some of their picks, but and there are other teams that are definitely guilty with that. We're going to come on to the Steelers, who are a team that seem to be picking on their own board and not on everybody else's board, like that kind of thing, and it's very difficult to see. I do like Adafe Owe, as he wants to be named now. I really like him as a pick for the Ravens, and he seemed to be good value because lots of people had him going in the 1st round as well.
Yes, and another pick I think was huge for them, and it's not going to get the fans excited, but Ben Mason is a beast as a fullback. I watched him a lot out of Michigan. Like I said, Badger Big Ten guys. So watched a lot.
Super Baltimore pick. Yeah, really Baltimore.
And there's only a few teams that still use a fullback, like to the extent Minnesota and Baltimore do. So it was wait till your last pick, grab the fullback you want. And I know people are going to go 5th round for a fullback. Well, it's their 3rd, 5th round pick. This guy is going to be a starter, and he blows people off their feet, picks up the blitz, and didn't do it a ton, but the kid can catch out the backfield.
Yeah, and of course, like if you're picking a guy in the 5th round and he's going to be your starter, then that's worth the pick anyway.
Yes.
That's not about reaching. That's like the guy will be worth the pick. Like I understand what people say about value and stuff at positions, but I sometimes go like, well, if he's going to start, then it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter where I pick him. Like, if he's going to start and be on my team, like, obviously you have higher value guys. Like, you're not going to choose him over an offensive lineman that's going to be even a backup offensive lineman or a starter. You won't pick him over there. But, like, a fullback is integral to how they play the game. And it's a running offense.
It might sound stupid, but I gave him a B- that potentially in 3 years could be an A.
I've got that with so many teams, man. Where it changes, like we're looking at it now, and it just changes straight away. I like Wallace, solid.
Wade and Haynes are all projects, but they are projects with every bit of intangibles and talent you want.
Yeah, I like Wallace a lot. I think Wallace was a good pick as well to go with Bateman. If you put wide receivers on the field, no matter what caliber they are, you have to think that somebody's going to go, oh, well, Lamar can pass. Like it's not like Lamar Jackson is a terrible passer. The guy's a league MVP. Like he's still a really good passer. It's just when you look at how he runs, he's not the best passer. So those guys are going to come out of the box, which then puts the game on. And the O lineman that they drafted, they picked an O lineman, which I was a bit like, not the best O lineman ever, but he's not good in the pass protect, but he's an awesome run blocker. And you think, well, that's how the Ravens play. So like the board changes for them, and the name slipped my mind.
A very few linemen are good pass protectors coming out of college because they get the ball out so quick.
Yeah, exactly. Ben Cleveland, that's who I'm talking about. Where he's
their 3rd pick. Yes,
Ben third pick. Yeah, Ben.
I
Ben
think
Cleveland.
That was a bad pick.
I think he's a good fit.
Strength stronger.
Yeah, I think he's a good fit. A bit of a mauler, really in the run game, and you think like, yeah, the guy's a good fit and a good 3rd round pick. Like people were kind of being like, why are you doing your offensive line? And it's like, you can't ever have enough good offensive line.
One injury and they're in trouble.
Exactly. Like look at the Kansas City Chiefs. Like you can't have too many good offensive linemen. And talking about offensive linemen and perhaps needing some more offensive linemen, let's move on to the Cincinnati Bengals, shall we?
Yes. And I have to say, I picked them to pick Jamar Chase only because of what I was hearing. Yeah. Right. And I think we both thought it was, if we were choosing, it would have been a Penei Sewell, but
I would have 100%. I would have 100% taken Penei Sewell with what they did later in the draft. I give them a B. That could become a C minus or a D, or could become an A plus. Like that's
Yes,
what
they are that
that's
weird
where it is.
because I like their second pick. I like Carmen, offensive tackle out of Clemson. I like it. I think Jackson Carmen is a good pick.
Yeah, I think there were other more surefire guys on the board at that point. That was my only issue with them taking
but I
him.
think a lot of those guys were going to have to move in no matter what. And I think this is a guy who has the potential to play guard and tackle. And I could be wrong, but I think that's why the Bengals went with him. But I agree that there could have been better players, but the fact that they addressed it in the second round and they picked their guy, and we'll talk about this with other teams. I might not agree with your pick. I had to step back from some of these teams and go, look, that's not what I would have picked, but it makes sense to me. So I'm not going to lower their grade for the guy.
Yeah. So in the Dallas Cowboy fan rooms where people have been beating on Kelvin Joseph and saying, why didn't we pick Asante Samuel, and saying, why didn't we trade up for Trayvon Moehrig and stuff, like I've been saying to people, I agree with you in terms of the Asante Samuel, but these guys are pros who have been watching people, whereas we just sit and like, like we just sit and give our, like, I'd like to think we're really knowledgeable about American football, but I'm not better than the Dallas Cowboys scouting team. Like that's,
or we'd be
like,
scouts.
That's not true. Like, or we wouldn't be doing this. Like we would be scouts in the NFL, or at least NFL insiders or something like that.
Right. PFF would have hired us or something by now.
Yeah, definitely. Like, come on. But I don't agree with their pick. I gave them a B that could easily be an A plus, and I really like what they did with their third, fourth, and fifth picks.
That's what gave me a B, because I am in love with their first round or fourth round pick, Cameron Sample, D end from Tulane, because he was from a small school, and I think he's going to be so much better than they think than people projected him.
I think he's going to be better than Asay. Like, I think he's going to be better than him, even though they picked him beforehand. And I think they think that too. And that's the crack with reaching, isn't it? So it's Asay, Sample, and Shelvin that we're talking about. And they're great value picks. Like, they clearly went for the best guy on the board mentality with that. And it's like, I'm sat there thinking, we made a video about the Cincinnati Bengals offseason needs, and we literally just shouted offensive line, offensive line, offensive line.
And they got three.
I'm still looking at it and thinking, have you really fixed your offensive line? Like, Deontay Smith's definitely a development. Trey Hill was touted to be a second, third round pick, but he had an awful pro day. So was the pro day just an outlier? Like, it's that kind of stuff. Like,
we've been saying, like,
I know.
Underwear Olympics, get out of here. Like, watch the tape. I don't care what these kids do at their pro day, but maybe that's
exactly. So basically, this entire draft relies on the fact that there's good potential, lacks polish. Do you trust the Cincinnati Bengals to be the guys to develop those players? That's basically what it comes down to. So then why wouldn't you take, like, if you don't trust it, obviously they trust themselves to do it, because they should have taken Penei Sewell if they weren't wanting to polish a guy, or even Rashawn Slater. Rashawn Slater is arguably the more polished of the two Penei Sewell, Rashawn Slater guys. But I also love Jamar Chase, and I'm really excited to see him link up with Burrow.
And like we talked, it's that they already have chemistry. It's something you don't have to learn. Both of us would have went with Penei Sewell, but after you and I talked about it, we're like, I get it, man. I
totally understand it. I was like, I understand this as long as they smash their second round pick for an offensive lineman. And I have question marks about who they picked on paper, but I don't know enough about offensive linemen to say that was wrong, that was right.
And maybe they have a coach who will get the best out of them. I'm sure they drafted traits and intangibles, and you know what I mean? I guess we have to sit back and go, wouldn't have been our pick, but again, we're not scouts. So I'm not trying to take away from a grade on the player. I am grading more on the positions they drafted.
Yeah, I will only criticize teams wholeheartedly for position picks rather than, apart from when we talk about the Green Bay Packers first round pick a bit later on. But apart from that, I will only go fully in on people for picking the wrong position with their picks rather than picking the wrong guy, because we don't entirely know, like,
Well,
You know what I
there's a
mean? Like,
guy
there
I
are
have
some
been
guys that I feel more
crushing,
strong
and
about.
it's a teaser, but there's a guy I've been crushing, but you're going to be shocked on where the grade comes later on. You know, like,
and yeah.
so it's just that kind of thing. It's like, and it's some of these guys I don't think are good fits with the coaches, but it's not their fault either.
Yeah, of course. And hey, we've given the Bengals a B. I got most of my grades were B's at school, and I like to think I'm a relatively intelligent person. Like, I managed to go to university with lots of B's, so I'm good with giving a team a B. I like their picks outside of the fact that I like the guys that they picked. I'm just not sure it was the right thing to do for the team needs, but then that totally goes on whether you're picking on need or whether you're picking on value, and that's totally fine by
And
me,
I
whichever way
agree.
you want to go.
You are a very intelligent person, because I am the first one who told my wife that dude's a fucking idiot, which I didn't.
Thank you very much.
I just think you're horrible at evaluating quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's
So
fair enough. We'll definitely be talking about that later on. So let's move on to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I think had the worst draft in the AFC North.
Really?
Yeah,
I've given them A-.
I've given them a C+.
Wow. I like this. We don't usually differ this much. Like, me and you butt heads on quarterbacks, but
there's certain things where it's just like we value people differently. Like, and then that's it.
The reason I gave him a high grade is the same reason you gave him a low one, and I can see it because at first I was like, I knew it was coming. At first I was like, you need more help. But the more and more I think about it, all we've heard all offseason is we are fixing that running game. We are fixing that running game.
It's exactly that reason that I've given him a C+.
And I think Najee Harris was born to be a Steeler.
Najee Harris is a really good running back. I just want to put that out there first of all.
Right. No, there's a lot of people who are going to get crushed that we think are good players. Because
in my first
draft.
In my first mock draft, I had Najee Harris going to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I like the pick. It's not that I hate the pick or anything. It's just that O-line is not that good. Like, most teams' running games are bad because their O-lines aren't special. And you just agree. Yeah.
To bring something up, though, and it's from your boy Chris Sims. So he said that he agreed with you, but he said where they were sitting, he didn't think there was an offensive line worth that pick.
Yeah, that genuinely is the thing. I think Tevin Jenkins is a good, like,
I agree.
I really like Tevin. If you're looking to fix your run game, Tevin Jenkins was a great guy to pick at that point. And and the guys who moved up, so like people like Chicago moving up, they would have been the only guys who were going to pick Tevin Jenkins to fix their run game as well. So he was falling to 24. He ended up going in the second round, and that's who I would have picked. I don't have as big of a problem with them picking Najee Harris as I did with them picking Pat Freiermuth, the tight end, which I really like the guy. Like, he's a really good tight end.
Kyle Rudolph Jr.? I've been telling you, this kid's like Kyle Rudolph.
I know. He's an incredible tight end. I really, really like him. But once again, it's offensive line. Like, I feel like they're in a very small window of being able to win a Super Bowl again for maybe quite some time.
Do you think that they feel like they can win a Super Bowl? That's kind of my question. I almost wonder if they are like, we ain't going to win another one with Big Ben, so let's do this, this, and this and figure out the future.
But I think if they were doing that, then I still would give their draft a C, because then they could have had a guy like Trask, Mills, or Kellen Moore to move on and they could have taken them in the second round instead of taking Pat Freiermuth again. But like, I know they've got Dwayne Haskins, I know they've got Mason Rudolph, but those guys they're not going to be the guys. And you sat thinking like, their window is still open. I still think they went unbeaten for a long time, and I know it was against garbage teams. They were playing the NFC East and all of that kind of stuff. But you still went unbeaten for 11 games. That's pretty impressive. And then you fell apart at the end. But if you add a starting offensive line, good value pick, and then the way it fell, they could have had Najee Harris and another starting offensive lineman. Like the way that it fell, like they could have picked up on another guy, but instead they went for the tight end, and he's a good tight end, don't get me wrong, but you're just thinking, is a tight end going to help you win the Super Bowl like straight away? obviously,
I get that,
team
but
building's not done.
him being the second best tight end, pretty much consensusly around the league.
Yeah,
and you grab him in
100%.
the second round. But I agree with you. With all their offensive line picks, I mean, I think Green will end up being a starter. He's a project. I don't know much about Dan Moore Jr. I'm not going to lie. Don't know a ton. I only seen a little bit of him only because of watching Kellen Monte's, video. So not sure, but I do. And people are going to crush me for this. I love their last two picks. Norwood, cornerback out of Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma's defense sucked balls. We all know that. I think he was kind of the bright spot of their secondary. So if you had better
is that
players,
like is
and
the
I
reason
love
he
they took
dropped?
the best punter.
Yeah, is it the reason he dropped because his team was garbage?
I think so.
But he's a sparkling guy on a bad team, and American football is the ultimate team sport. It's very difficult to be able to play well. Like, it's very difficult for a secondary to be any good if your defensive line isn't getting to anybody either. Like, it's if nobody else is covering, then how are you meant to cover as well? Like, like there's sparkling guys in
I'm guessing
garbage teams.
I'm guessing in soccer, a star could take over a game, kind of like in basketball.
It's
whereas
not,
in football, all 22 guys have to be doing the right thing for it to work.
Yeah, exactly. You can see, like, in football, soccer, you can see people that just shine off the screen. The ball gets to their feet and they look magic in some games. So Gareth Bale, who's a Welshman, was able to pretty much single-handedly carry Wales to the Euros in 2016 and stuff. So
football's completely different than all other sports.
Exactly. And it's very much like rugby. It's very difficult for one guy on a rugby team to be good if the rest of the guys are playing garbage, because you defend as a line. So if one guy isn't defending, then the line doesn't work. So it's kind of exactly like that. And I like the pick. I really like the guy. From the small amount of tape that I've seen, I really like it, just because I was hearing a few good things here and there. I'm not gonna lie. Most of my evaluation is from the one, two, three, four, fifth pick, and then after that I start to fall off a bit. But
yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
I
just knew who Norwood was from watching a lot of Oklahoma games, because anybody who watches not Last Chance U, the other one. There's at Netflix, there's a show about QB1. It's called
QB1.
The star from QB1 is now the quarterback at Oklahoma
Spencer Rattler,
State.
Spencer Rattler.
So that's why I watched some of Oklahoma's games, because I followed him off the Netflix show. So that's why I know their defense is garbage.
Yeah, Pittsburgh could just tank and go pick up Spencer Rattler at the end of the day as well. But Pittsburgh, I've given you a C+, but it could easily be a B+, maybe an A- if these offensive line picks that you've gone for do turn out, and they can develop players. Like, they know what they're doing. Like,
and I agree with you that, because I have them higher than you, but I think this could be a D or an F by time we're done. The only reason not an F is because I really feel like no matter what happens, their top two picks play well in the NFL moving forward. But they could fall to a D.
Their top two picks are great players. I just think they were in the wrong positions. Like, they're poor value more than bad players, and that's what happens with a lot of teams as well. But obviously, players like CD Lamb last year were considered bad value for the Cowboys to take, and then were absolutely awesome. Like those kind of guys.
If he's the top guy on your board, who cares what any of the talking heads say? You go grab him.
Yeah, exactly. Najee Harris is a great running back. Pat Frymouth, second best tight end, would often be the first tight end in a lot of classes where a guy called Kyle Pitts isn't there.
Right.
Exactly. Like, he's a really, really good. Yeah, he's a really, really good tight end. I just think their offensive line looks a bit shaky on paper. And for a team that it seems like they still think their Super Bowl window is open, it's a bit weird to have a shaky offensive line after the draft. But you can fix all of this stuff in free agency, team buildings, and in trades. Team building's not done yet.
And you're going to see a lot of guys cut before the start of the year, so maybe they bring in some more O-line. This offseason ain't over. They never stop building the team. So
yeah, exactly. So Browns won the AFC North Draft for me.
Browns won the draft for me, so I got no argument with that whatsoever.
Yeah, the LA Chargers are up there as well, but the Browns had a great, they had a great draft simply because they have very few holes in their team. Like
Best player available.
they just need to add quality, like on top
They
of
were the
it all.
true
And
BPA team after the first pick. Best player available after you got Newsome in. Everything past that was, you didn't even have to search for needs. It was best player.
yeah. And do you have the Browns as your favorite to win the AFC North as well? I know it's weird to be picking now. Team building's not finished, but for me, Browns are my favorite to win the AFC North.
I got them in the AFC Championship. That's as far as I'll go at this point.
Yeah, I like it. All right, cool.
Because I'm stuck, because I really got 3 teams right now I think can win this whole AFC. So yeah. I'm putting the Browns in the NFC Championship game, and I'm banking on the fact that the Bills or the Chiefs are probably going to take each other out.
Yeah, that could easily happen. Right, love the draft talk, man. Really enjoyed it.
All right, guys. Well, that's the AFC North. We graded them. Tell us if you agree below. And thanks for watching. Follow us on all the podcasting platforms, YouTube, Facebook, all that cool stuff. All right, guys. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.